Hello and welcome. The subject of today's video brings us two news and one old. It's a new car from an old brand with a new name. This is the Rising Auto R7, a premium EV SUV that competes with the XPeng G9 and the Voya Free here in the Chinese market. Let's get started.
Rising Auto is a sub-brand of SAIC, and you may know it by its previous name, R Auto. Yes, R as in the letter in the English alphabet. We previously reviewed the R Auto ER6 and the R Auto Marvel R, known as the MG Marvel R in other markets. The R7 fits above the Marvel R in the Rising Auto lineup, with prices ranging from $43,000 to $53,000 before options.
The styling of the R7 is heavily inspired by the ES33 concept that debuted at the 2021 Shanghai Auto Show. I thought that was a handsome slope-backed SUV when I saw it at the show, and I think that they've done a good job of maintaining those good looks in the transition from concept to production car. It must be said, however, that the D-pillar area back here does have a striking resemblance to that of the Tesla Model Y. The high rear end does affect visibility out of this back glass, which is also minimized due to the fact that it's very sloped, but they did manage to retain around 491 liters of space back here. That is, however, noticeably less than more traditionally shaped competitors like the Voya Free and the XPeng G9. As we jump in this car to check out the interior, I want to point out one of the more annoying things about it, and that's these frameless doors. Now, frameless doors, don't have a problem with them. The problem is that in this particular case, there is a distinct delay between when you pull this handle and when the window pops down and allows you to open the door like this. It's a small thing, but it's kind of annoying when you're in a rush. They are electrically operated though, which means I can close them and open them via a button here on the door or using the brake pedal.
In this era of massive interior screens, it seems that two different approaches have developed. On the one hand, you have the slap it on the dash and call it a day approach favored by companies like XPeng, NIO, and Li Auto. Then you have what we'll call EQS style, which is creating one massive slab of screen and black plastic.
Which one you prefer is entirely subjective, but the R7 falls into the latter category, integrating its three screens, measuring 10.25, 15 inches and 12.3 inches into a single pane. Also subjective is this particular color of interior. Personally, I don't really like this combination of kind of drab white and drab gray brown that creates an atmosphere akin to a dentist's reception area. I've been in a car that's got a black interior, and even though I prefer lighter colors in general, I think the black is better looking.
Our highly spec'd test car did come with quite a bit of kit though, including heated, cooled, and massaging front row seats. The driver's seat is also highly adjustable.
The front passenger seat is certainly the best of the two, however. Not only does it have a leg rest, as you can see, it also has a footrest that folds down from underneath the dashboard, much like the queen seat that you find inside of a NIO.
The UI on that big center screen is good looking, but some options, like those heated and cooled seats, are slightly more time consuming to activate than they should be. That's a UX issue. The capacitive touch buttons on the steering wheel are also a bit annoying, but the ones just forward of the center armrest are even worse. Their placement means they need to stay locked most of the time in order to avoid accidentally turning on your 360-degree camera or changing your driving mode. Activating it, though, is a bit tricky. The whole interior reminds me a great deal of the IML7, another vehicle from SAIC. Material quality and fit and finish are up to par for this price point, but usability is not.
Rear seat passengers have almost none of the goodies enjoyed by the King and Queen in the front row. The only features you're going to find back here are two USB ports, a Type A and a Type C, and this fold-down center armrest with cup holders and a small storage area. There is, however, plenty of space for all but the tallest passengers. I am 5'9", or about 1.72 meters tall, and as you can see, I have plenty of leg and headroom, though I do wish these rear seats had adjustable rake.
Rising Auto offers two battery packs for the R7, a 77 kilowatt-hour pack that is only available in the base model, and a 90 kilowatt-hour unit that is used in long-range and performance versions. Rising Auto says a base car can manage 551 kilometers on the CLTC cycle, while long-range models can make it up to 642. Our performance car splits the difference at 606 kilometers.
But the big news is the fact that Rising Auto and their parent company SAIC have announced that they're going to make battery swapping available for this car and indeed for cars from other brands from SAIC. That would make them the second Chinese automaker to have this feature after NIO, of course. Unlike NIO, however, this feature will not be available to all customers. It will only be available to those who lease their battery pack rather than buying it outright. If you want to lease a battery pack, it costs about $175 a month for the 77 kilowatt hour pack and around $215 for the 90 kilowatt hour pack. If you do choose to lease it, you will also enjoy much higher subsidies as well.
The R7 also has a couple other tech highlights, including the debut of Huawei's augmented reality heads-up display. Not only is it larger than the HUDs we've used in other vehicles, it also has higher clarity as well. The augmented reality graphics include dynamic navigation prompts, as well as assisted driving information and overlays that highlight other vehicles. It feels like driving in a video game.
You probably already noticed that very flashy and very wide LiDAR unit mounted on the top of the windshield. This is the first production vehicle to use a LiDAR unit from US startup Lumineer. It's part of a 2,800 USD package, an optional package that's optional even on this top spec model, by the way, that also includes an extra NVIDIA or an X chip for a total of 2. When you choose that package, this thing does have highway navigation on autopilot, meaning its features at least are on par with competitors like the Xpeng G9.
The R7 is available in both single motor and dual motor variants. The rear-mounted single motor makes 250 kilowatts and 450 newton-meters of torque, taking the car to 100 kilometers per hour in 5.8 seconds. The dual motor all-wheel drive version we're testing makes a much more impressive 400 kilowatts and 700 newton-meters of torque. 0 to 100 happens in just 3.8 seconds.
That number would make this car one of, if not the fastest SUVs we've ever driven here on the channel. In fact, I think it means it's one of the fastest cars, period. However, apart from that particular highlight, I can't really think of anything about the driving experience that's really worth talking about. Whether it's the braking or steering feel, the ride, the handling, it's all fine, acceptable for this price point. It has a McPherson strut front suspension rather than a double wishbone like many of its competitors, which I find to be a bit surprising again for this price. It also isn't available with an air suspension as standard or even as an option, which is again surprising because some of its competitors are. The material quality, fit and finish, and honestly overall driving experience of this car are only acceptable. It does have some interesting tech features like that fancy HUD and that LiDAR unit that could reel in some customers, but I think the real difference maker is going to be how successful SAIC and their partners are in proliferating their swapping stations here in China. If they're able to do that and able to create a system that's as convenient to use as that of NIO, they could move some serious units. All right. That's all for today's video. I'm going to get out of here before I freeze to death.